I'm Curtis Massey. I'll be teaching next year's course on high-rise advanced firefighting operations at FDIC in April, and the class will encompass all the facets and components of high-rise procedures and tactics and strategy, incident command, and base building systems. So we will cover from the time the alarm comes in, all the parts of thinking through the situation when you're responding to a high-rise. The type of occupancy, is it office, is it residential, is it hotel, is it mixed use, and arriving on scene and getting a basic size up of the situation externally and internally when you approach the lobby. Making sure when you approach the lobby you take note of opening the doors and understanding the stack effect before you enter the structure. Is the air moving out of the building or into the building? And if it's in positive or negative stack effect, because that will have a definite impact on the air movement in the building, whether the air is being drawn in and pushing the air up, taking the smoke with it to upper floors, or is it drawing it down and pushing it out of the lobby in what's called a reverse stack effect, where it can pull the smoke downward, which would definitely impact your staging floor and possibly pushing the command post out to the street, pulling smoke to the lobby. Then we would also cover elevator operations, all the facets of phase 2 operations, where you can safely and efficiently move to the upper floors of the building. And the standpipe operations, whether the standpipe has PRVs on it, whether they're percentage based or set pressure, whether if you have to pump into the system, will it also provide the proper flow pressure to your hose lines? So if it has percentage-based PRVs and the fire's on the 3rd floor, you pump to the top of that zone, which could be the 30th floor. So you would pump to the roof, not the fire floor, so the PRV operates properly and you get a sufficient fire flow to your hose line. And do you in fact have the proper hose line, the proper attack configuration? So we want to avoid the small diameter hand lines and the fog nozzles. We want to focus more on large diameter hose lines and smoothbore tips to get adequate fire flow, which technically should be a minimum 250 gallons a minute. And we also, with those elevators, you want to do those shaft checks before you enter the elevator, making sure you do a procedural check of the parts of the elevator that encompass phase 2, which would be your buttons and switches inside the cab, and doing a minimum 1 to 2 safety stops as you go up into the building. And then you want to check that staging floor out, making sure it's adequate for staging needs. And you want to choose your attack stairwell and making sure that's brought back to the command post quickly in your communications, so you know whether you have U-return or scissor stairs, whether they're pressurized and at alarm or not, and whether they unlock the dropout devices on alarm or not. And also, if you have a shared stairwell, some stairwells are scissor, and you have a large floor plate, you have 3 stairwells and 2 on one side of the building, pressurized at alarm, but they also have no division wall between them, so both stairwells share a common shaft. You want to make sure you get that back to the command post, and they know, the command would know not to designate one as, say, A as the attack stairwell, B as a search and rescue, and evac stairwell, because they share a common shaft and you're going to contaminate both stairwells during the initial stages of the fire. You also want to try to make sure those stairwells are pressurized, your attack stairwell first and then your evac stair. And if the building doesn't have automatic stairwell pressurization fans, you want to make sure you do it with your fans at the base of the building. So all these things have to be taken into consideration when you're approaching a high-rise firefighting operation. And the class will be approximately an hour and a half, and it will cover all those components, and also the recent fires that have occurred in both Honolulu and Grenfell Tower fire in London that were multiple fatality incidents. And we'll find out about lessons learned and make sure that when you go out on these high-rise events, whether they be moderately serious or catastrophic in nature, you're as prepared as you can be to make sure you have all the tools, both mentally and physically, to do the job safely and proficiently.